So much smoking.
Also, I've never met a cat who eats spaghetti. Tragedy.
Death.
Where's the good stuff?
Oh my.
I don't like it. I feel like we're playing French Detective right now, where we're trying to piece together, like, okay, so.
Hello and welcome to the Queer Gaze, where we react to LGBTQ media from every country and every decade.
We're reacting to gay coming-of-age films, complete with nuanced discussion of queer representation and issues.
You can support the show and get access to extra content and full unedited videos over at Patreon.
And you can follow us on social media at The Queer Gaze.
I'm Conrad.
I'm Joe.
What are we fixing our gaze on today, Joe?
All right, Conrad, we have reached the year 2000. We're going to be talking about a French-Belgian. It's listed as a romantic drama film, and it is directed by Sébastien Lifshitz. So we're talking about Come Undone, which was, I don't want to say a seminal film of my coming out process, but I definitely always had eyes on this box art.
It's very notable box art, yes, and when I did some research into this film, I discovered that the original photograph was not quite as coy as the version that ended up on DVDs. It went all the way down.
All the way, okay.
All the way. Yes.
Yeah, I think one of the things I'm excited about with this title is that we are moving out of kind of younger, almost middle grade kids. So these characters are properly either adult or on the cusp of adulthood. So not only do I think that that's going to change the nature of the storytelling, but it might give us some naughty bits to enjoy.
Well, yes, or at least some that we won't feel quite so awkward watching.
Definitely that.
Okay, well, let's meet our gaze.
I always love a European film because it's a co-production between about 20 different companies.
Oh yes, always. I love the opening of Howard's End because it just has this unending scroll of thousands of small companies funding the movie.
This person chipped in $20. What do you think of the title change? I don't know if you speak French, but Presque Rien, if you did a direct translation, would mean almost nothing, as opposed to Come Undone.
Yes, it conveys something very different, doesn't it?
I mean, they're both quite broad, could really be open to interpretation about anything.
Yeah, I don't know, it reeks of ennui and it sounds very French anyway, doesn't it?
Almost like this opening music, which is setting a very somber tone. Instead, we just have this sad boy, apparently.
Filmed on somebody's home movie camera. Is this a point of view, or is this what the cinematography is going to be like?
I think this might be what we're in store for, yeah.
Oh, interesting.
I see that we're back at the train station, which we're discovering is an essential component of any queer film, apparently.
Yes, if you're on the cusp of a transition or a personal discovery, you must be pictured in transitory spaces.
Right. Whereas I'm just used to people cutting their hair. It's a big thing. Take note, whenever you see a character cut their hair, it's always like they're having some kind of significant life moment.
Ça y est, je suis parti. Je suis dans le train. Ça me fait bizarre de retourner là-bas.
Is he dictating something?
Yeah, maybe.
It's a useful device.
It's the same as hearing a voiceover for a diary entry or something.
Are we blowing on dead animals?
Apparently so. Perhaps he's a gentle, sentimental soul. Never cared for having to hold the shower handle.
That's very French, though, isn't it?
Indeed. Yep.
Yeah.
I just find it goes everywhere. Water goes everywhere.
Every hotel in Paris I've ever been to, you walk in the shower and the shower is pointing at your groin, and you think, what?
Mm-hmm.
Then you realize you've got to do it yourself.
Yeah. And really. A shower should be a relaxing thing that,
Yeah. It shouldn't be work, damn it.
Yeah. It's already enough work to keep myself clean.
Smoking, also very French.
Oh, we brought the bird home. Okay.
Is it dead?
I hope it's dead.
Are we burning it with a cigarette?
Yeah.
Does he just prefer live ashtrays?
Already this is an interesting structure, right? Very light on dialogue, heavy on just kind of visual imagery. Oh, okay.
Okay. We're just gazing at each other at the beach.
As we do, yeah. What do we think? Sister or girlfriend?
Sister, I think?
I think so too.
Or he's not being very subtle about the fact that he doesn't find her attractive.
Right, yes. I'll confess, I'm quite shit at flirting, so I don't know if someone just intently staring at you would be hot, or I don't know. It's giving off serial killer vibes.
Well, no, quite. I mean, from my perspective, staring at another man for too long could land you in hospital if you're not careful. So it's not something that I've ever done.
You have to choose carefully. You have to really be certain that you picked up on the right signs.
Yeah. Oh, he's followed him home now.
This is mother, perhaps?
Yeah. Beautifully composed shot as well.
It's quite the jarring transition, despite the match on action.
Sa progression, respirez, avalez votre salive, avalez comme une grosse... Monsieur, tout va bien, ne vous agitez pas.
Oh my.
I don't like it. I don't like it.
No. Put him under, for goodness sake.
You're not helping. Understatement.
So, was that our main character as well?
Mm-hmm.
Having a medical procedure.
Yeah. It looked like they were trying to intubate him, but... Alright, we have a character name, Mathieu.
I think, are we jumping back and forth between two different time periods?
Quite possibly. Unless he came home to get the test done.
Yeah. I don't know, he looks older here in some way.
Definitely more sickly. Oh, you know what? I wonder if this is jumping ahead to the end of the love affair after things have broken down or something, and he's not eating, or...
Je suis psychiatre, je suis là pour vous aider. Ici, vous êtes en sécurité, vous allez pouvoir retrouver un équilibre.
So we're in self-harm territory.
Yeah. Man of few words.
Well, it's a film without much sustained dialogue up until this point. It's been more tonal in quality.
Mm-hmm.
Cédric. Mathieu. Enchanté.
We have our gaze.
Just goofy smiles.
It's cute.
En fait, je t'avais déjà vu l'année dernière.
Oh, wow. He's been harboring a crush for a while if he's had eyes on him for a year.
Oh. So is it that the family goes on vacation to the same spot every year, and they've just been gazing longingly at each other across the beach every time?
For at least a year, yeah.
Yeah.
Pas trop. Ça te dirait pas d'en avoir un? Un pote? Ouais, un pote, ouais.
These kinds of interactions are always so funny, right? Because you're basically just feeling the other person out before you act on what you both want to do.
T'as pas trop gêné quand je te regardais sur la plage?
Non. Moi aussi, je t'ai regardé.
Ouais, j'ai vu. Ouais. Pourquoi?
Bah, tu me regardais, je t'ai regardé.
We could be going in circles for another year at this rate.
No wonder it took them a year to act on anything.
Qu'est-ce que tu me proposes?
He wants to have sex on the beach, clearly.
Qu'est-ce que je te propose là maintenant? J'ai envie de t'embrasser. Bah vas-y.
I don't know, mid-cigarette?
We're going to learn so much about each other over the course of this series, aren't we? Okay, so Conrad would like you to use a breath mint before you kiss him.
I mean, I don't have a leg to stand on. I used to be a smoker.
Ooh, the truth comes out.
Dun, dun, dun.
Hey Mathieu.
I mean, Cedric is cute, but the just kind of like following behind all the time is...
T'as honte ou quoi?
Non, mais ça n'a rien à voir, je veux pas d'histoire, c'est tout.
Quelle histoire tu me parles?
Non, mais c'est bon, tu peux partir, non?
Tu me prends vraiment pour un con ou quoi?
Non, mais barre-toi, c'est bon.
Non mais pars-toi.
Oh dear.
C'est un des fils moucherons.
I mean, I'm not laughing at the fact that Mathieu is maybe still closeted and doesn't want the... He doesn't want the attention of his family, but it is just a little bit funny that, you know, you're going to fight in front of everybody. That's going to cause more of a scene.
Yeah, it raises more questions. Yeah, I think a public display of affection would have been completely missed.
Mm-hmm. Especially if it's like a graze of fingertips or, you know, you go swimming together or something.
Yeah, just a hug, bit of splashing in the face, that kind of thing.
Right. Yes.
Con quoi, tous les ans c'est pareil.
Tu veux pas me parler autrement, s'il te plaît?
So, who is this woman?
Yeah, I don't know. I wonder if we've misread who the sick figure is.
Tiens. Tu me fais chier.
She's definitely acting more like the mom, this blonde-haired woman.
Pourquoi tu manges pas, toi?
J'ai pas faim.
Je me casse le cul pour me faire plaisir, merde!
Bon, bah, moi, je vais dans ma chambre.
Laisse-lui, il a mal au cul.
Mathieu, attends!
Is the sister making a homophobic joke there?
Yeah, that's how I took it.
Nice.
Also, we've now seen him refuse to eat in the present tense as well as in the future, so I'm wondering if maybe he stops eating. Or eating, he has a Heartstopper-esque kind of relationship to food where he uses it to control.
Yeah. It's also used to depict depression in movies, so I'm thinking of Ordinary People, one of my favourite movies. The main
Right.
character, Conrad, refuses food all the way through, and when he finally accepts it at the end, it shows that he's healing.
Qu'est-ce que tu veux?
Je voulais m'excuser pour cet après-midi.
C'est bon, tu peux te casser maintenant.
Petty!
It's his turn to kiss the ashtray.
I don't like it. I've never dated someone who smokes.
No?
T'entends?
Now we get the angry kissing.
Right, yes. Important distinction. Oh, skinny dipping. This is good. We're checking the boxes here, Conrad.
Yep. It's a good icebreaker.
Cendre de lune, petite bulle d'écume. Poussé par le vent, je brûle et je m'enrhume. Entre mes dunes reposent mes infortunes. C'est nu que j'apprends la vertu. Je si fragile qu'on me tienne la main.
Catastrophe là.
Je si facile.
Strategic lighting here. I can't even tell if he's actually fully nude or...
Yeah, heavy back and side lighting. Always safe.
Mm-hmm.
Poussé par le vent, je brûle et je t'encule. L'enculateur de ta grosse bite en fureur. C'est lui que je la prends dans le cul.
Okay, French viewers, please tell us if this is a real song.
I think it may be a bowdlerized version of a popular song. What?
Back to sad.
Yes, I think we're back to guitar and sad.
Yeah, I'm looking at the description. It says, holiday romance between two teenagers and what remains of that relationship 18 months later.
Oh. So this is him returning to the scene of the crime.
A broken heart crime. Just add breaking and entering to our list of felonies. I'm worried that we've not seen Cedric in this future timeline, so that doesn't bode well.
It doesn't, no. I hope it's not tragic gay death suicide combo.
Mm-hmm. Well, I feel like we're going to encounter it at least once over the course of the series, so...
Yes, I think we will. Some nice eating noises for ASMR fans out there.
Whatever we can do to, help people out.
So is he eating cat food or is the cat eating human food?
Truly could go either way, couldn't it?
J'aimerais bien que vous veniez ici un week-end pour vous montrer comment c'est.
I thought perhaps he was making the tape for Cedric, but that doesn't actually mean that Cedric is alive or dead. It could go either way, but this seems to suggest he's making it for someone who's living.
It does, yeah. And it's not to himself either.
Mm-mm.
Non, je te l'ai dit, je te l'ai dit. Mais justement, il est fait pour.
So much smoking.
Really not doing anything to dispel the idea that the French people just smoke constantly, right?
Yeah. I used to love going in the boulangerie and the person who's serving you has got a cigarette in their mouth.
I hate it. I hate the idea.
Wow.
This is the kind of movie that I would have very clearly associated with a kind of European art house sensibility back when I was in high school and just getting into international films. Not quite light on narrative, but really using different kinds of storytelling techniques. Like, you don't need to know what the exact relationship is. You'll figure it out. Or you won't, because it's not important.
Just letting it unfold for you and not spoon-feeding you.
Exactly, yeah.
Which I love.
Mm-hmm.
It makes a welcome change.
Yeah, I think you have to be more of an attentive viewer, right? Because you need to pay attention to what's going on in order to understand things.
Mm.
Or, you just enjoy the boys frolicking in the water.
Yes.
Also, this sister is not going to be fooled by any excuses these two give.
No, I don't think so. Well, not at that age. I mean, if they were 5 or 6 years younger, this sort of play you could maybe pass off as something else, but no.
Right.
Because what are they? I'm placing them sort of 17, 18?
Yeah, I think so. See, you'll laugh at me, but immediately when I see scenes like this, I'm just like, oh, this is a sex scene. Because we're interested in being physically close to one another in ways that, if we can't be naked together, then we might as well ram each other with bumper cars.
And now we're railing each other.
You get it.
I've never liked dodgems too rough. Maybe that says something too.
Revealing so much intimate personal details about yourself this episode. All right. Are we about to walk in on something?
You know, I don't think the two of them would be intimate. Oh. Playing darts.
Sexual euphemism.
Vous connaissez depuis longtemps avec Mathieu?
Depuis une dizaine de jours à peu près. On s'est rencontrés sur la plage.
Et vous êtes d'ici?
Ouais. Enfin, je suis de Nantes. Avec
Oh no, he's dating a townie.
Non, ça c'est bon. C'était pas mon truc, de toute façon.
Oh, an uneducated townie. So this is their mom, and I think Anik is either a friend of the family or something else.
Vous faites des études, Cédric?
Pas
First
exactement.
question again.
Je vends des gaufres.
Ah bon? Et vous faites ça depuis longtemps?
What could two boys possibly have in common? What do you do with all of your time together?
Pas grand chose en fait. Je rumine et puis je fais du sport aussi.
Ça se voit, hein? Vous êtes bien développé.
Ah ouais, vous trouvez?
Get your own man, Anik.
Enfin, tu veux savoir s'il est nul?
Il est beaucoup trop vieille pour lui.
Oh,
Non,
trop
c'est
vieille.
Non, moi je le trouve très bien conservé pour votre âge.
La phrase qu'il dit.
Oh, yeah.
The backhanded compliment.
Mais si, permettez-vous.
Non, non.
Et votre ami, elle a quel âge?
Oh my goodness.
Of course.
Meanwhile, the sister's just like, hey, clue in.
Putain, Mathieu, parle pas comme ça, attention.
Ça va s'occuper de son cul, oui. Moi j'aurais adoré avoir une sœur.
Ah oui? C'est pas toujours la joie, hein? Surtout avec ces deux-là. Non, ça va.
So what exactly is her issue? She's jealous or she doesn't like her brother being gay?
I mean, it could just be like a sibling rivalry where this is a way to get in some digs at him.
Bratty teenager type of... yeah.
Right. I will say, one of my other favorite things in films, particularly, is to watch dinner sequences, because often when you trap people around a table with food, that's when like secrets and conflict and stuff starts to come out. So I always pay particular close attention to them.
Yeah. Another good one is driving in cars. Road movies always bring out a lot in people. And I think that's
Oh, yeah.
because in those, you don't have to make eye contact with the other person.
Mm-hmm.
So you can say a lot more somehow.
Yeah. But there's an intimacy to being trapped in a small space with them. Uh-oh.
So who was the person who was watching?
Yeah. Is it a belligerent townie or an ex?
Oh. Man down.
Mm-hmm. I think in France they call this violence. Cedric really kind of flies off the handle.
Oh no, not his flannel shirt.
Oh putain. Qu'est-ce qu'il y a? Vous êtes cherché partout. C'est avec lui que t'as couché? Ouais.
X, yes.
You nailed
Could have
it.
gone either way. All these gays who just want to fight, though.
Not just sending each other strongly worded texts.
I dislike you immensely now.
T'es sûr que t'as vraiment envie de savoir? Ouais, je suis sûr que j'ai vraiment envie de savoir. Bah, j'ai aussi fait ça pour de la thune, avec des mecs de passage. Voilà.
Oh.
Ça te dégoûtait pas? Tu sais, ça dépendait des mecs. Hein. Ça fait une fois, ça s'est mal passé. Je suis tombé sur un connard qui voulait casser du PD, et puis ça a été ma fête. Je me suis retrouvé dans un sale état.
It's not a direction I would have thought the film would go in.
No.
Okay, this is Back to the Future. How are you finding the switches between the beachy holiday and the sad hospital scenes?
It's becoming easier to recognize them because I think the color temperature of the cinematography is very different.
Yes, I wish I had have actually picked up on it earlier because it is fairly distinct, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Not that he's particularly more verbal in one time setting than the other. We're not getting much by way of character other than observing how he is in the spaces.
Mm-hmm. Yes, he's quite withdrawn. I wouldn't say introverted, but he seems very private.
Mm.
With very pretty eyelashes.
All the better to cry with.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I want to see tears come down those cheeks so badly. Is that Cedric?
It is.
All right. Confirmation. Not a dead gay love story.
No, hurrah.
Okay, so we learned that in the present, Mathieu is being treated for depression and doesn't want to see Cedric.
Comment ça se passait entre vous? Je veux dire, est-ce qu'il avait des blocages sexuels, par exemple?
Non, pas vraiment. Mais depuis un mois, il voulait plus. Il m'accusait de le tromper.
C'était pas vrai?
Non. Juste une fois, mais c'était rien.
Sir. Once still counts, I think.
Yeah, once is enough, I think.
Okay, so I feel like we're playing French detective right now, where we're trying to piece together, like, okay, so he has depression. They've been seeing each other still.
Yeah, it's not really clear that it was their relationship, although he was unfaithful.
Mm-hmm.
But it seems like that wasn't entirely what it was that drove him to self-harm and depression.
Well, and the fact that the illness with the mom is such a big part of the vacation storyline makes me wonder if that will play a part in this.
Mm.
And then things have to come to a head with this sister.
Oh, yeah.
Le site de Renrouette se présente aujourd'hui à nous comme un résumé de l'évolution de l'architecture militaire. Il énumère des modèles qui se sont suivis dans le temps depuis le Xe jusqu'au XVIIe siècle.
This is extremely relatable content to me when I go on vacation. I also like to go to ruins and read from the guidebooks and learn some local history.
Uh-huh. I take it Cedric doesn't feel the same way.
He's just always so aggressive.
Je sais pas, putain, on est là, pourquoi tu profites pas? C'est beau, non?
C'est des pierres ici.
It's just a bunch of rocks. Let's fuck.
I guess this is his lack of education.
Definitely coded, yeah.
Yeah, he's a simple man. With simple
Can't
pleasures.
he appreciate things? Yeah.
Yeah.
Depuis le temps que ça dure, tu crois que j'ai pas deviné?
De quoi tu parles?
Tu le sais très bien. En plus, te ramènes ici, franchement, t'es gonflé. Tu veux l'achever, ta mère, ou quoi?
Attends, je fais rien de mal.
Oh.
So we are doing
Qu'est-ce que tu
homophobia.
veux de ton cul, hein, ça me regarde pas. Mais tu pourrais rester dîner avec nous de temps en temps, ça serait bien.
Je peux pas
Fais
y...
un effort, Mathieu.
Je peux pas y maintenant, là.
On va lui dire que tu le verras après manger.
Guilt trip, guilt trip.
Yeah. Have you seen him smile yet?
I mean, a little bit, right? When they were first flirting, back when they were walking. But yeah, he really does hold it back. I mean, this is one of those situations where, I mean, maybe Cedric will manage to get him into it, but also if I'm out with a partner and they're looking the way that Mathieu does, I'm like, okay, you know what? You're not into it. We're going to go home.
I mean, he's not even enjoying fireworks.
After being confronted by Annick, Mathieu confesses some personal family tragedies to Cedric.
Il a eu un bébé il y a 3 ans. Il est né avec un cancer, mais ils n'ont pas réussi à le soigner.
Et il est mort?
On l'a enterré il n'y a pas longtemps.
Oh.
Et depuis, ma mère est comme ça. Alors on s'occupe d'elle. Enfin, surtout Annie.
Huh. So there's almost a hereditary condition of depression within the family then.
Ils savent que t'es pédé?
Bah, vu que je le savais pas trop moi-même avant.
T'as bien dû faire des trucs quand t'étais petit.
Non.
Si.
J'ai quand même foutu à poil tous mes cousins.
Pardon?
Not where I thought that was going to go.
This interesting confession. So, a late bloomer then?
Mm-hmm. Presumably his first real queer experience.
Yeah.
Which would potentially help to explain some of the depression, right? I mean, not to be hyperbolic, but sometimes we do latch on to the first one, and then if things don't work out, it's... Oh no, we went in the water, and then we got all cold and wet and had to take our clothes off.
Ah.
I mean, maybe. This is very dark. It's hard to see.
Yeah, I'm not seeing what's going on.
Boo. Where's the good stuff? I mean, I'm sure you probably had this experience, but particularly when you go to film festivals, I've gone with friends and they've said, okay, well, let's pick the films based on the ones most likely to have hot boys, or better yet, like full frontal nudity or good sex scenes.
For the art, obviously.
Yes. This is the barometer for gay men. Right?
Yeah.
Look, I want to be educated. I want to support international film, but also, where the men at?
Yeah, there's definitely a contrast because this is winter, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So a full year and a half later. But like, I literally only know that because I read the Wikipedia entry. Otherwise, you would just think that this is the next winter, right?
Yeah.
Ça va avec Cédric?
Ouais, comme d'habitude. Il est encore au boulot là.
T'as une drôle de voix. T'es sûr que ça va?
Mais oui, je te dis.
Right. His family doesn't know about his situation.
Bien qu'on présente Cédric à ton père, tu crois pas?
Écoute, on a déjà parlé, j'ai pas envie. Et Cédric, la famille, c'est pas son truc.
Comme tu veux. On verra plus tard.
Tu me manques. Vous me manquez tous d'ailleurs.
It was quite the curious line, wasn't it? I miss you, I miss all of you, as in you've lost a piece of yourself.
Yeah, and Cedric doesn't like families.
Allez, putain, Mathieu, tu vas ouvrir maintenant. C'est le connard! Allez, ouvre cette putain de porte, là! Ouvre-moi, Mathieu, allez, je sais que t'es là. Ouvre! Mais qu'est-ce qu'il y a, bordel? Allez, Mathieu, s'il te plaît.
Vous cherchez quelqu'un?
He is really not well. And his mother's still alive, so it's not as though something has happened there.
C'est pas quel jour tout à l'heure. Maintenant, c'est pas compliqué. Quand on la voit passer, elle passe sur le trottoir. Oh là. Mais elle ne dit pas bonjour.
It's a very different crowd in the winter compared to the kind of party people we saw during the summer parade at the carnival.
Yeah, I do love movies that compare holiday destination in summer versus winter.
Yeah.
It's always very telling.
Very stark contrast, yeah.
It is, yeah. So is it a holiday romance that just couldn't stand up to the rigors of day-to-day life?
Yeah, but it's interesting, right? Because we saw him take the train back here, so he clearly's made the effort to come back. I would have thought to be with Cedric, but perhaps it's more complicated than that.
It feels like he's trying to recapture something, but it's not Cedric, because Cedric's banging outside the door and we won't let him in, so...
Yeah. He's trying to rediscover the feelings, maybe. Just because the person's there doesn't mean you feel the same way.
No, exactly.
Also, sleeping on the beach. A, no. B, cold. C, sand everywhere. Mm-mm.
Cédric, tu couches avec?
Oui.
Ça te dégoûte pas?
French breakfast.
We always record this right before I'm about to have dinner. So I'm constantly like, oh, food. Mm.
Maybe we should have croissant.
Mm.
T'es amoureux?
No answer.
Strategic cutting. Oh.
Hello?
So these are the still images that I saw. In addition to being obsessed with the box art, if you look up this film in queer circles, it's like you will see screenshots of this.
Right. Okay.
When you're a horny teenager.
Also, the roles there was somewhat not what I expected.
All right. Unpack that. Why would you have assumed that Mathieu would be the bottom in the sexual situation?
Little spoon, yeah. Well, just because Cedric has been characterized as the more aggressive one, I was imagining that Mathieu would be in the more passive, or traditionally considered passive sexual role.
Right.
And he was definitely not.
I wouldn't be surprised if we get a scene later in the film that proves that they're both verse, because this seems like the kind of film that's going to say, oh, it's different when I'm topping versus bottoming or something. But yeah, movies often do adhere to the traditional standards that you think, right? Oh, this person's more masculine, he's more muscly, he's more aggressive, he must be the top, right?
Yeah. Which, of course, is a very heteronormative projection.
Indeed, yeah.
And, yeah, in real life, it doesn't actually bear out at all.
I mean, one clue that we could have potentially used to determine is the fact that Cedric mentioned that he had done sex work, which is, again, you know, a bit of a default assumption, but the reality is that if you're young and a sex worker, you might be asked to bottom
more often than...
Cédric! Putain, Cédric, t'es là? Oh!
Wait, what's happened? Have we gotten stuck in some kind of crevasse?
It'd be... Yeah.
Oh, I think he fell. That's what it was.
After Cedric is injured, Mathieu meets his boyfriend's father and decides to come out to his mum.
Maman, faut que je te dise quelque chose.
There we go.
Qu'est-ce qu'il y a, mon chéri?
J'aime Cédric. Je l'aime vraiment, maman.
No, but like really, really love him.
Really, really like him.
Et lui?
Not like a friend love him.
Je le sens en tout cas.
Et Nathalie?
Quoi, Nathalie?
Who's Natalie?
Tu l'as oublié?
Bah, je sais pas, c'était juste comme ça, Nathalie.
Mom, she's so unimportant we haven't even mentioned her in the movie.
She didn't even get a flashback. Poor Natalie. Okay. That went okay.
Mm-hmm. So the parents were perfectly fine.
Yeah.
I wonder if this is the point in the film where we're meant to say, okay, so dad is fine, mom is fine. Why then do we have depression in the future?
Yeah. It's clearly not about his sexual identity. He seems pleasantly surprised and unbothered by it.
To be honest, he seems to be the one who has the biggest problem with it. Everyone else seems perfectly fine with it, but he's very reluctant to come out. He's very reluctant to acknowledge it or be public about it.
Back in the present, Mathieu's doctor makes a recommendation.
Quand vous serez là-bas, j'aimerais bien que vous teniez une espèce de journal où vous notez tout ce qui vous passe par la tête.
Maybe say them into a tape recorder.
So he's talking to his doctor when he's saying, I'd like you to come down here sometime.
Tu pars quand?
À Paris?
Ouais, à Paris. Ouais.
Je sais pas, dans 3-4 jours.
Summer's almost over.
This is where the class tension is really going to ramp up, I think.
Mm-hmm. I can't stay in this beach town. I have to get back to my real life.
C'est très bien que je peux pas y aller, ma mère.
Dégage, tu me dégoûtes.
Another classic fly off the handle response from Cedric.
Yeah. It's really empathetic sometimes.
Ici ou Paris, c'est pareil. Je m'inscrirai à la fac et voilà. Ça change rien. Fais-moi confiance.
But they're gonna try to make it work, it seems.
C'est un peu rapide.
It is very sudden.
Yeah, life-changing decisions based on a summer of romance.
Mm-hmm.
Avec quel argent?
Je sais pas, je trouve un petit boulot.
Faire le trottoir.
Mom! It's not every day your mom just assumes that you're going to become a sex worker.
Well, that's the trajectory, right?
In, honestly, gay films of a certain age and a certain time, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's still what young men in very religious families are told, that it just inevitably leads to you being ejected from the family and having to be a sex worker and dying.
Right.
Yeah, that's the trajectory. That's
Of
where
course,
your life
yes.
goes.
There's really only truly one path for any of us, isn't there? Unhappiness, loneliness,
Tragedy,
death.
death.
We can laugh about it because it's so ridiculous.
It is.
Tu le connais à peine, ce mec.
Et alors?
I'm sorry, sister who has not given a single fuck this entire movie. Why do you care? Oh, because she's worried about mom. I get it.
Oh, okay. So he's throwing his whole life to one side to go to Nantes with Cedric.
Mm-hmm.
And then come back here and sell waffles in the summer, I guess? Well, to be fair, when you're that age and you fall in love for the first time, you do kind of just want to destroy everything.
Sure. It's because people don't understand the depth, the scope of what you're feeling, right?
Yeah.
But also, I mean, if we're being realistic, in the year 2000, it was not as common, but the idea of somebody just saying, yeah, you know what? I want to change my mind. I want to take a gap year. I want to figure some things out. Why not?
Mm.
I say that because I have no kids, and I did not do that myself. So it's very easy for me to say it in hindsight.
Yeah. I didn't take a gap year either. Oh. This is
the ex, right?
The ex in the present? Does he recognize him?
I think he does.
I think he does. I think he's trying not to.
Right.
Oh, no, he definitely does.
I'm making eye contact like I don't care, but I also won't stop looking at you.
He's just cheekbones and a cigarette at this point.
It's a little frightening. I mean, he was never the biggest guy. Like, when we see him on the beach in the Speedo, he's obviously quite thin. Like, he's a thin guy, but yeah, the food does seem to be an issue, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's all going to the cat.
You can also feed yourself, not just the cat. Also, I've never met a cat who eats spaghetti. Maybe the meat.
Yeah, it's probably picking around. It's not like Garfield eating lasagnas. Cats and pasta do not mix. Is he sharing his dinner with the cat?
100%. It's too intimate.
And now his bath?
Mm-hmm.
Please tell me he's just bathing the cat.
I think he might just be bathing it, yeah.
Phew. The relationship with the cat was just getting too much.
Well, it's interesting, right? I mean, this is, to me, emotionally manipulative is too strong a word, but we're obviously using the cat to suggest that it's not that he can't have relationships with living creatures. It's just he does not want to have it with his family or with Cedric.
Yeah. Having a pet is very important to people in this sort of situation, though, because when you're at your lowest ebb, having something else that you need to get up for in the morning to feed can be the one thread that keeps you going.
Mm-hmm. Well, and he's very obviously taking care of this, right? Like, the cat was astray, it was not doing well, he brought it in, he's feeding it, and now bathing it and so on, so... Are we looking up the X?
I think we are. Are we going to compare Cedric war wounds? Or just spy on him through a window?
I mean, we did learn that Cedric cheated once.
Bonjour. Est-ce que Pierre est là?
Pierre.
Pierre, mais c'est pas son heure. Il quitte son boulot vers les 4 heures.
Il devrait pas tarder parce qu'il est moins le quart là.
Ah oui.
Bitch, read a watch. Oh, at this hour? No, never. Oh, 15 minutes. Yeah, he'll be home in 15 minutes.
I guess when you're not working, you just lose track of time.
Vous voulez pas vraiment un petit café ou autre chose?
What is he hoping to achieve with this? I'm just waiting for you to come home, hanging out with your mother. This is not going to end well.
Hello.
Qu'est-ce que tu fais là?
Good question.
Non, pas vraiment. En fait, je suis venu m'installer dans la maison de mes parents. Qu'est-ce qui se passe? Rien, je suis passé juste comme ça.
Ça fait une demi-heure que t'attends.
Thanks, Mom.
Take a hike, Mom. Oh, no, he's taking him for a walk. Okay.
Mom, go for a walk. We've got things to discuss. Have you ever done this? Have you ever tracked down an ex of like a current or former partner?
No, I never even want to know that exes exist, much less just talk to them. I don't know. Mm-hmm. What about you?
No. Unfortunately, I had to interact with a couple of them because, just geographically speaking, we would run into each other. But I don't think we ever tried to play nice. We would just kind of acknowledge that there was a history and move on. Like, hi, yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's the mature thing to do.
Je travaille dans le bâtiment. Enfin, je suis maçon. C'est dur, mais je m'en fous. Je préfère ça que rien foutre.
The job prospects for these boys in this small town is not great.
Yeah, it's an interesting comparison when Mathieu is studying to be an architect.
I mean, assuming that he actually is, because right now we know he's actually just working in the bar.
Yeah.
So Mathieu and Cédric's ex, Pierre, walk on the beach and discuss their relationship.
Marrant, t'as changé, t'es plus...
Plus quoi?
Je sais pas. Moins gamin.
Ah bon?
He wears more scarves now. It's just so weird. To everyone else, it seems like he's there with Cédric, and instead, we know that they're barely spending any time together.
En tout cas, je suis content de te voir.
C'est bien que tout soit passé comme ça.
What, are we going to become friends?
Seems like it.
Marc, là-bas. C'est bizarre, qu'est-ce qu'il fait tout seul?
Let's kill him.
Ever heard of Leopold and Loeb?
Yeah.
Qu'est-ce que tu fais ce soir? Ça te dit qu'on bouffe ensemble?
No, stop this. What are we doing? If this movie ends with these two getting together, it's going to be very, very weird and uncomfortable.
Vous êtes toujours ensemble, Cédric et toi?
Non.
Depuis longtemps?
Non, pas longtemps.
I'm on the rebound.
I'm actually just looking for fresh dick at the beach. Interested in filling the position. I mean, if they do end up getting together, this movie is definitely playing with the weird queer adage of, well, there's only so many gay men, so if there's another one in your geographical area, you must date.
Yeah, there's only so many characters we can introduce in one movie, so it's this guy or nothing.
You could possibly be a new person.
Not in this seaside town.
I think that's the thing I'm just still so fascinated by, is not why the relationship has ended, but rather why he's hanging around.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't seem happy. Like, we see him going for these appointments at the hospital, and everyone seems very concerned about his mental well-being.
Well, I mean, he's not a happy guy. I mean, let's face it.
It's like, is this movie just secretly about a disaffected young queer man? This is downright, like, it's verging on depressing here, Conrad.
It is, you know, I've got a horrible feeling we're going to crash to credits.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is definitely feeling like the end of the movie.
Yeah, it is.
Lo and behold.
Wow. Okay.
Oh, boy. Oh, wow. Okay.
So, almost nothing. Joe, what do you think?
So here's the thing. I'm fine with movies that are very light on narrative if they're well made, well acted, if they make you think, if they give you pause. I would have loved for this one to have done a little bit more. I feel like I'm still left with a lot of questions that I don't know I needed fully answers to, but it just felt like it was a little thin.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It's not exactly Call Me by Your Name. It's very, very light, very atmospheric. It did invite you to do a little bit more work in terms of figuring out what was going on. It took us a while to figure out the different time periods in the relationships, and that was fine.
Yep.
I didn't get a really strong sense of any of the characters, really, because not a lot was verbalized.
No.
We didn't learn a lot, even in the scenes that did have dialogue. So, yeah, you're left with a lot to interpret and just create for yourself while you're watching the movie.
It's odd, isn't it? We're a couple of titles into this project, and I feel like one of the things that we're really struggling with is that so many of these main characters, in the process of trying to find themselves, are being held at arm's length from the audience, and it becomes really difficult to establish a kind of emotional relationship with them. Like, who are they? They don't know themselves, and therefore we can't seem to get to know them either.
And I wonder if it's because we're dealing with films from a very specific period, and maybe the filmmakers wanted to keep them at arm's length to a certain degree, which is odd because you'd think that maybe more effort would be needed back then to make them sympathetic characters. But I feel like empathetic queer characters seem to only be arriving in narratives more recently. So,
yes, yeah. Like in some ways, these films seem to be portrait of struggling queer men.
Yeah.
And that's enough to kind of justify, okay, we can go ahead with making a movie, we can get some money for it, and it'll probably play well on a sort of international film festival circuit. But yeah, as an audience, I don't want to say it's unsatisfying because I've enjoyed each of the films in different ways, but at the end of the day, yeah, like I can't say, oh, this is a queer classic that has been missing from my life, because I don't know what I've gained from some of these films.
No, see, I watched this in around about 2000 when it came out, and I didn't remember anything about it.
Right.
At all.
And now we know why.
Yes.
Again, not like a knock on, I think the technical aspects of it are quite good and even interesting, but character-wise, this is just not hitting the mark for me.
No. Well, interesting. I read some academic treatise on this film, in particular an analysis by Todd W. Reeser, who claims that this film is talking about comparing different spaces, so the domestic versus the outside, the freedom of the outside, and that although we see nothing of Mathieu and Cedric's relationship in Nantes, it is the failure of them to achieve some kind of domestic future for them together. That a gay romance that's sort of transgressive, that's outdoors, that's out in the wild, is one thing, but trying to translate that into some sort of domestic ongoing relationship that plays more into the sort of heteronormative expectations of families didn't quite work out for Mathieu, and that's what he became disappointed with, the failure there, and possibly that Cedric was the wrong partner to attempt to achieve that with. And I think the suggestion is that Pierre might be, because you see him playing with a child at the end or something. Yeah.
Oh, I see. Okay. Because my immediate reaction to that, the reason I was laughing as you were saying it, is because the first thing that Pierre says is, well, we should take a walk outside.
Yes.
Welcome to my house, but also get out. Because, yeah, I mean, that is an interesting point. I was trying to think, did we ever see Cedric and Mathieu inside? Because I think even when he came for dinner, they ate outside.
Yeah. Although there are suggestions that they spent the night inside the house. So, yes. But secretively. So, yeah, there's a lot of symbolism attached to Cedric referring to the castle as a pile of rocks. Pierre literally translates as rock, and he is a mason, and Mathieu is an architect.
There's a foundation there.
So Mathieu is the architect, so he's the man that dreams of creating a domestic space, whereas Pierre is the one that can actually realize it for him. So that's apparently what is going on in this movie symbolically. So there we go.
That is interesting. I do think it works. We had to, bring in an external point of view in order to get there. But
yeah, I would never have gotten there. But there we go.
Well, I do think it's one of the limitations of reacting to films on the fly as we go, right? If we could spend weeks at a time looking at these movies and thinking about them and developing arguments and complicated readings, then I'm sure we might have come up with something along those lines.
Let's give ourselves the benefit of the doubt. We're two reasonably intelligent textual analysis kinds of guys. And to be honest, so little information is given in the movie that you do have to attach a lot of significance to every little scrap that you get. So the line, Cedric doesn't like families, does have a lot of weight, because it's one of the only things Mathieu ever says about him to another person during the movie. So, yeah.
Indeed. Yeah. Yeah, a movie that seemed heavy on symbolism and light on, I guess, quote unquote, more traditional ways of storytelling and developing characters.
Yeah, very much so.
right. Well, we've got a fun couple of categories here. So, shall we begin with a tip of the shade, the most ridiculous or memorable aspect?
Most ridiculous, memorable moment for me was when he said something about undressing all of his cousins.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just a cultural thing. Maybe that happens a lot in France.
Yeah. This one didn't have a ton of ridiculous elements, so I might have to combine it with my chili pepper award. Which is, if you're only going to give the audience one big sex scene, you might as well make it very aggressive thrusting against a sand dune.
Yes. And just smash cut into it. Don't lead up to it. Don't even suggest that might be what coming next. Just crash hard right into the thrusting.
And honestly, very little intimacy. I think that's one of the other things I struggled with, is that there did seem to be a lot of aggressive queerness in this. You know, between Pierre and Cedric, they were always fighting physically, and then a lot of the kissing between Cedric and Mathieu was on the more aggressive side. So I guess this just felt very, I don't want to say juvenile, but it felt like we were working out the queerness through almost like physical acts of intimacy.
Yeah. And yeah, to have that teenage pneumatic
the jackrabbit mode of
remember it well. It's you know, it rings true. It's one of the reasons why I don't know if it's a movie we might look at some point, something like God's Own Country,
right?
If you've seen that.
I have.
Yeah.
I quite like it.
Yeah, I like it a lot. And that is one where the scenes of intimacy progress from very aggressive to very tender. And it's not exploitative. Let's just put this in here for the sake of it. It is very much part of the storytelling and the character development that you see how their physical relationship changes.
Yes.
Particularly for one of the characters, there's a lot of growth to be had. Well, in more ways than one, maybe, but yeah. So yeah, you didn't get much of that here, really. I suppose we had the pitch black. There was something going on that might have been a bit more tender on the beach. But
yeah, it's true. If we can't see it, we can't comment on it.
No, it doesn't count. So, Lifshitz's lip service most facile treatment of a serious issue.
Well, I'll confess at the beginning of this, I was quite worried that we were going to suggest that depression was something that could be treated very easily, or it was just something that could be easily overcome. And I guess I'm going to give this award to not as facile as I was worried it was going to be, because I actually think the complicated treatment of both the mother's sort of grief in the postpartum of losing her son, as well as Mathieu's own recovery, was handled, again, not super in depth, but it wasn't just brushed aside, or it wasn't treated callously.
No, and not in the way that many films would treat it in previous decades, where, you know, like one of my favorite movies, Ordinary People, it's the talking cure. So you go through the psychiatry and you talk and you have a revelation, and then after that everything's going to be
fine.
Yeah,
perfectly fine.
Job done.
Yeah. Ooh, actually, but I will say the facile treatment, or just the kind of casual inclusion and never addressing it, of the sister's homophobia was interesting.
Yeah, their relationship was complicated.
Yes, but we never truly really understood why.
No. It's a shame. But overall, interesting movie. Yeah. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Can't wait for the next movie.
Yes, until next time.
Bye for now.